When I first started backpacking, good Monday evening. It's much more actual balmy 40-something degrees today. Wanted to spend a moment reflecting on finding meaning or finding your why with backpacking. My journey into backpacking was really about a time in my life where I realized I needed to invest in myself a little more. I'd always grown up really enjoying being outdoors, and so I figured, hey, I like this idea of backpacking, so I wanted to give it a shot. After my first trip, I knew I was pretty hooked. I came back super excited, wanted to spend all my free time looking at gear, trying to figure out which pad, tent, you name it, that I wanted to get. After several more backpacking trips, I started changing out my gear and buying new things and slowly finding myself really pursuing the idea of more lightweight backpacking, and found myself almost with some, which felt like subtle pressure to keep lightening the load. Now, if you've spent any time considering backpacking gear, you will know that there is all kinds of videos, all kinds of posts about comfort and weight, where lightweight equals less comfort and more comfort equals heavier, which isn't necessarily untrue. But I think one factor that might be interesting to add to that mix is finding meaning in your backpacking. As I started backpacking more and more with my brother, and we started carrying all this camera gear into the woods, I quickly realized that adding more weight and adding more things to my pack, particularly with this camera gear, brought so much more meaning than just bringing my pack weight down. Which wasn't to say that I didn't want to hike more miles or do trails that were longer, but having the camera gear with me just brought such a greater depth of enjoyment for me. And in addition to all this camera stuff I was bringing along, my brother and I also realized that we all of a sudden were staying up a lot later. We enjoyed spending time under the stars and taking pictures and time lapses and all these things that just opened up an entirely new world for us in our backpacking that we just kind of weren't expecting. So maybe instead of asking yourself the question, weight versus comfort, ask yourself the question, what's going to bring me the most meaning when I go and do this trip? And sometimes that might depend trip to trip. There might be certain trips where you might need to lighten your load and in order to achieve what you're hoping to do. And some trips there might be the potential of bringing a whole lot of extra comfort gear. So with the least fancy words that I can muster, my encouragement to you as an intermediate backpacker is simply consider your meaning when you go out and you backpack. Find what brings you that joy, that meaningful experience, and pursue that. And I think it will bring you far greater reward than any comfort versus weight debate might solve for you. But that's just my 2 cents.